Her eyes met mine from the hospital bed, a hollow mix of fear and imploring desperation. This woman, who once tore my world apart, now lay broken, needing me as her savior. My grip tightened on the bed rail, my heart pounding with a conflicted rage and unbearable compassion. Staring into the eyes of the woman who shattered my heart, she lies helpless in the ER. Now I'm her only lifeline. The sterile beeping of machines surrounds me, a steady reminder of life's fragility, of betrayal's sharp edge cutting through dreams we once shared. I'm transported back to moments laced with hope, ones I cherished so desperately. Years spent managing grueling shifts, scraping by, while her ambitions took center stage. I was her anchor, a constant provider, the cheerleader who believed in her more than I believed in anything. And then she left, taking with her the future I was certain was ours, only to choose another life, another man, one who shared her world of titles and prestige. But fate is a cruel beast, throwing her back into my world in a twist I never saw coming. This reunion, buried in layers of irony and unspoken pain, demands a confrontation, one not easily faced. The harsh ring of the emergency room phone slices through the sterile air, a sound I've come to hate at this hour. The hospital is a cold machine that never rests, and tonight it seems particularly relentless. My heart skips as I catch snatches of the hurried conversation on the phone. A trauma case, immediate arrival. I don't know why my stomach twists as I head toward the trauma bay. The bright overhead lights buzz softly, casting a sickly glow on everything. I step through the threshold, and my breath catches in my throat. She's lying there, pale, a deer caught in the headlights of an unforgiving world. The same face that had once been my everything now carved with fear and vulnerability. Suddenly, I'm back there, months ago, in the middle of our last moments together. When she looked at me with that cold, cutting detachment that dismantled everything I thought we were. Now, her eyes silently plead, shouting through the muted haze of the room. I stand frozen, caught between where we left off and the urgency of the now. There's a bitter taste in the back of my mouth, an aftertaste of anger and unfinished goodbyes. Doctor, a nurse's voice cuts in, snapping the spell. I shake off the memories like rainwater, stepping to her side, professional demeanor battling with the inner turmoil raging beneath. She gasps, trying to form words, but the effort is too much, and she shudders weakly. The sound churns up an unexpected wave of sympathy inside me, one I'm not ready to face. Her fragility is haunting. In a single heartbeat, I'm drowning in the sea of our history, the love, the betrayal, the silence that followed. My mind scrambles to compartmentalize, to push back against the deluge. The EMT said she was in an accident. The nurse reports, her voice like a distant echo. That final night flashes back, the way her words tore into me, the night dissolving into silence. I wonder if she remembers it as vividly, but I shake the thought away. We have no room for the past here. I focus on the mechanics, vital signs, scans, checking injuries, a rhythm I know well, a rhythm that usually calms me. But my hands tremble, and the air between us thrums with unspoken things. The beeping of machines fills the silence as she struggles just to breathe. She's on the edge between life and something else, and I'm terrified of which side she'll land on. I glance down, meeting her eyes once more. The anger and betrayal, the love and loss, it all fuses into one charged moment stretching like an eternity. I take a breath, steadying myself, knowing I can't leave. Not now. Not like this. She needs me, and for reasons that make no sense, but are somehow more true than anything. I know I need to be here too. The beeping of the heart monitor was a cruel metronome to my escalating anxiety. I stood there, the stale air of the emergency room thick with antiseptic and apprehension, my gaze locked on her pale, unmoving form. Memories, like specters, surged through the dam of my mind, unbidden and relentless. I remembered huddled evenings, her laughter echoing off the walls of our tiny apartment, the crumpled medical textbooks that cluttered our table like relics from some frenzied pursuit of salvation. I can almost feel the worn pages beneath my fingers, each one a step in the long journey toward a life that seemed to slip further from our grasp with each passing night. I see us, tucked beneath a nest of mystery and knowledge, wrapped in the cocoon of our budding careers. Page 372, she'd whisper, her voice always a mix of teasing and terror. What's the mnemonic for cranial nerves? And I, with a grin, would rattle off each line, feeling an odd kind of triumph threaded with the bond that only shared dreams can forge. But somewhere along the way, the laughter waned, a candle flickering in the harsh wind of ambition. I remember the heaviness in my chest, the silence that grew stale between us, once filled with eager discourse now replaced by the emptiness of long hours and looming expectations. Her hands slipping away, first metaphorically, then quite literally, on nights when the weight of her drive kept her clutched to hospital corridors, miles from our bed. The beeping quickens, each high-pitched note entwined with the threads of our past tapestry. Watching her now, surrounded by the very equipment she used to idolize, is a bitter irony that I can't ignore. The emergency room buzzes around us, a hive of activity starkly contrasting the immovable figure before me. And yet, even amid this chaos, my thoughts return to her smile, her eyes alight with passion that once flamed towards me. I see her within the folds of time, splashes of laughter over late-night takeouts, bowls of instant noodles as the only witness to our consumption of life and love. A quiet truth persists. Everything we dreamt of was sacrificed on the altar of our ambitions, a choice we both made, yet one that feels unbearably heavy on my shoulders now. I place my hand on hers, lifeless and unfamiliar, seeking some vestige of the girl who once so fervently sparked my own ambitions. The vibration of my phone in my pocket is distant, unreachable, another reminder of the world outside, one I can't bring myself to face. All that exists now is the desperate entanglement of past and present, love and bitterness, swirling within this sterile room. Her chest rises and falls, a mechanical dance of life sustained and semblance lost, as I remain frozen between the haunting echo of what was and the ominous void of what is to come. In the harsh fluorescent glare of the ER, my colleagues weave in and out like automatons on an assembly line, their steady efficiency a sharp contrast to the turmoil spinning wildly in my gut. I press my back against the cool, pale wall, trying to vanish into its sterility, while the low hum of activity threatens to drown out the chaotic cacophony in my head. The smell of antiseptic whirls around me, masked only slightly by the bitter scent of coffee and the underlying tang of sweat. Each beep, each rustle of medical tools, jerks me a little further from the precipice of control. The noise should be comforting, a rhythm as familiar as my own heartbeat, but instead, it echoes like a reminder of my unraveling seams. I see her face in every patient who passes, every hurried footstep conjuring ghostly whispers of the last words we exchanged. Her absence is a punctured lung, and each breath is a struggle not to collapse inward. The room sways slightly, and I swallow hard, fighting for traction, clinging to the well-worn script of my mind. Professionalism, responsibility, detachment. Yet the edges of those words blur, smudged by the persistent flood of emotion that refuses to be contained. "Hey, you good?" Mark asks, pausing with a clipboard in hand, his brow furrowed, concern etched across his features. His voice cuts through the din, grounding me momentarily. "Yeah, just." I manage, forcing the words past a throat tightened with unshed anguish. "Just catching my breath." He nods, an understanding smile quirking at his lips before he swept back into the river of tasks and ticking clocks. His simple kindness arrests the storm for a brief moment, leaving a calm in its wake that's equally unnerving. It's as if his presence highlights the vast canyon between how I should feel and how I actually do. I cast a glance around, watching as they each attend to their duties with alarming ease. I keep telling myself to just blend in, to let muscle memory take over, but each attempt is a reminder of the chasm inside me. My mind cycles through what-ifs and should-haves relentlessly, punctuated by flashes of our last argument. Her voice rising, my silence louder than any retort I could muster. How do you reconcile professionalism when the wound she left is still raw, bleeding into every corner of my consciousness? The question hangs unanswered in the clinically chilled air as I steal another glance at the clock. Time, the relentless observer, marches forward, dragging me unwillingly along, indifferent to the shards of broken promises littering my path. Gripping the stethoscope hanging limply around my neck, I breathe in, trying to fill the hollowness within. Each intake feels like I'm fueling the fire instead of stifling it. But I step forward anyway, one foot in front of the other, systematically forcing the world into frames small enough for me to navigate. But as I rejoin the bustling flow, I can't shake the feeling that with every step, I'm leaving another piece of myself behind. Fate's a comedian, isn't it? Yet here we are, a stage set with past regrets and unspoken burdens. Her chest rises and falls softly as she sleeps, and there's something brutally gentle in the way her hair partly obscures her face, making it appear as if she's wearing a veil of vulnerability. The nurse wanders in, flipping through a chart absent-mindedly. The fluorescent lights give her features an edge, stark against the soft shadows of the dim room. Looks like she's resting comfortably. Life's full of surprises, right? She says with a vacant smile that doesn't reach her eyes, unaware she's just plucked a wounded nerve. Her words echo through the hollow spaces inside me. The irony isn't lost on either of us. The room hums with the kind of quiet that presses against your ears, urging unspoken truths to rise to the surface. I sit back in the corner chair, its vinyl upholstery creaking under my weight, syncing with the lifeless beeps of the machines that cradle her. It's like being tethered to the ticking of a grotesque clock, each tick marking another second of confrontation against things left unsaid and feelings pushed aside. My fingers trace lines on the armrest, as if etching some desperate map of escape. I should be somewhere else. She deserves that much, at the very least. Yet my feet remain planted, held down by invisible chains of what once was, or maybe what never had the chance to be. Her lips, even in repose, seem to form the beginnings of words that hover between us, just out of reach. What would they say if they could? A soft groan escapes her, barely perceptible, a tether of sound that tugs at my insides more than I'm willing to admit. Coincidences, huh? The nurse murmurs, pretending to check the foredrip, but really just avoiding the absurdity. I used to think life's played out like a plan, but it's mostly improv. I nod, not trusting my voice to keep the bitterness from creeping in. Her words sink into the marrow of what keeps me standing, forcing me to contend with jagged edges of thoughts desperately avoiding the light. The past, our past, is like a specter in the room, a hidden participant in this theater of ironies. As if sensing my turmoil, the nurse glances my way, a sympathetic gesture that feels both reassuring and patronizing. She exits quietly, leaving me swallowed whole by the engulfing quiet. Silence stretches thin between her sleeping form and me, as if daring me to speak, to fill the void with the truths I can barely acknowledge to myself. Her breathing, steady and oblivious, feels like my only constant in a world turned upside down. Here I am, stuck in this room with a million chances I never took and a fate that reads like bad poetry. The smallest whisper carries the loudest weight here, words unspoken, laced with possibilities, tethering me impossibly close, making any thought of retreat nothing more than a feeble fantasy. The morning light seeps through the cracks in the blinds, casting stripes across her face, pale and pained. I watch her eyes slowly flutter open, the faintest crease between her brows a map of discomfort she can't quite hide. For a moment, she seems disoriented, her gaze sweeping across the room before settling on me. There's a flicker there, something raw and vulnerable that echoes within me. It's more than just the aftermath of an accident. We're trapped in a web of understanding neither of us can untangle. She tries to shift, wincing as she does. I can't help but reach out, instinct guiding my hand towards hers. She notices, hesitates, but doesn't pull away. Instead, those eyes, shadowed and guarded, meet mine with a reluctant recognition that binds us silently together. I feel the sting of unspoken words, the weight of our collective past pressing down on the present moment. It's like déjà vu, isn't it? I venture, trying to inject a small spark of levity, to break the oppressive quiet that surrounds us. Yeah, she breathes out, a dry chuckle escaping her lips, though it does nothing to ease the strained lines around her eyes. Except less fun this time around. Her voice, scratchy and low, brings me back to times when those words would have been accompanied by laughter in the air, careless and free. Now, they linger between us, a reminder of what was once simple, before life decided to complicate everything beyond recognition. I watch her as she draws a breath, wincing slightly, her resolve transparent and fragile. There is so much said in the spaces between words, Her silence is a hard truth. It speaks to the fractures not just in bone, but in time and understanding. Despite everything, there's a familiarity I can't ignore, an internal compass eternally pointed towards her, regardless of the storm that converged over our shared history. Yet here we are, suspended in this uncertain truce, holding onto the tendrils of what was, navigating through unsaid apologies, unspoken forgiveness. The air feels dense with all that could be said but isn't, with all the possible futures we're too afraid to envision. In her eyes, I see a flicker of something broken, not just physically, but in the silent acknowledgement of our collective past. A sudden gust rattles the window, drawing our attention. We exchange a look, a tiny smile playing on her lips, echoing one of my own. It's a fragile bridge across dangerous waters, but for now, it holds. The emotional hurricane that swirled around us has quieted, if only for a moment of levity, of tentative hope. And perhaps that's enough for now. As the silence resumes its reign in the room, I know that this is just the beginning, that storms leave remnants that last beyond calm eyes. A soft whisper breaks the air between us. I'm sorry. Her voice, barely there, reaches me like the faint echo of something once vibrant, now faded. The words hitch in my chest, pulling like a reluctant seam being torn open. Apologies like these are buried beneath a decade of silence, dusted off by circumstances neither of us foresaw. My body stiffens, feeling the weight of her words settle into the room. It's as if the world has slowed just enough for this moment to freeze, time dangling on the edge of her apology. Her eyes, honest and vulnerable, catch the dim lighting, reflecting 1,000 unsaid things, glistening. I want to look away, run from the intensity of it, but I can't. I'm stuck between the safety of the cold wall I've built and the treacherous warmth of her gaze. The room is silent except for the soft hum of the refrigerator and our breathing, mingled with unspoken histories. It's been so long since we've had this chance, yet it feels so combustible, like one spark could either illuminate or incinerate. Thank you. I finally managed to respond, though the words seem inadequate, a poor bandage for the gashes between us. Her lips twitch, almost a smile, but instead a wave of something heavier passes over her face, carved by time and regret, and settles back into something like resignation. I never expected this moment. Who does, really? When do you prepare for the fault lines in your life to crack open, showing you the mess inside? Her apology cuts deeper than anger ever did, stirring a tempest of long-dormant feelings I had once promised myself were dead. It's like reopening an old, beloved book and finding notes in the margins that you never remember writing. Her presence, the warmth of it, thaws the frost I've clung to, shaking loose defenses fashioned over years, held together by sheer will. I remember the sound of her laugh, the way it used to fill a room, and for a split second, I swear I can hear it again, distant and inviting. I didn't think you'd ever. I trail off, unsure where that sentence was leading, but she nods as if understanding. There's a soft glow now, one that might just be the reflection of hope stirred by the simplest of gestures. A flicker I'm afraid to feed but can't afford to snuff out entirely. Her hand moves slightly, a tentative gesture that seems as surprised by its own courage as I am. I don't move, hold my breath, let the moment do its work. I nod, almost to myself, finding a parallel peace in acknowledging an unspoken truth we both carry. We might not heal everything today. We might never. But for now, there's this, a fragile understanding, a crack in the ice that lets in a bit of warmth, an unexpected light in our long-darkened room. Her words still echo, haunting every corner of my mind like an endless loop of a sad song. I sit on the couch, my arms wrapped around my knees, feeling the chill of the room's emptiness. It's just me and the silence now. Nothing else. I take a deep breath, searching within for some semblance of peace, but instead find her angry face staring back at me from the depths of my memory. She'd said I was selfish, that I could never truly be there for anyone but myself. At first, I wanted to fight her words, toss them aside like garbage, but they stuck to me, persistent and gritty. Could it be true? Have I been blinded by my own shadows? The hollow click of the refrigerator in the kitchen feels mercilessly loud. I close my eyes, begging for silence. I lean back, letting the couch absorb my weight, sinking deeper. Each breath paints the air with tension, a deliberate resistance I can feel in my chest. The truth is, I've never been good at facing myself, really looking beneath the layers I've built up over the years. Was it easier pretending everything was okay, drowning faults in half-hearted justifications? Probably, but not anymore. I force my eyes open, staring at the ceiling as if the answers might be etched into its bland white surface. Instead, there's that throbbing question. Is closure found in forgiveness, or simply in walking away, leaving shadows of yesterday in this cold, clinical room? I clench my fists, nails pressing into palms, trying to anchor myself in the moment. The earnestness of self-examination is like peeling back my own skin, exposing raw nerves. Each revealed layer feeds a rising wave of vulnerability I'd rather suppress. But there it is, sprawling before me, unavoidable: hurt, guilt, regret. A trinity of burdens too heavy for one soul. I exhale slowly, watching the air leave my mouth, envisioning it taking a fragment of my heaviness with it. That moment of reflection, a small glimmer in an otherwise stormy sea, is fragile, tenuous. The air feels thick with the weight of things unsaid, things undone. I confront myself in the mirror of my mind's eye, where all pretense is stripped away. The honesty in this room burns brighter than daylight, leaving nowhere to hide. I'm left with a choice, a crucial tipping point. Hold on to my bitterness or embrace a path towards something lighter, something healing. It's daunting, a leap of faith into the unknown of forgiveness. But wasn't this what she meant beneath all those words? A chance to be better, to grow beyond the limitations I've imposed on myself? A faint hum, was it the heater? Cuts through my reverie, bringing a sliver of warmth. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to let go of the ghosts. Not for her sake, but for mine. I take another breath, this one deeper, steadier, and feel a ripple of tentative resolve settle into my bones. Her face is a tapestry of familiar lines, every crease a story, forgotten yet etched into the texture of my memory. My heart clenches with something akin to fear, but deeper, gnarlier, regret, perhaps. The hospital corridor stretches endlessly, the fluorescent lights casting a cold, unforgiving spotlight on this moment, narrowing my world to the few dozen steps between us. Each step feels weighted, bound to the shared past that clings to me like a shadow begging for acknowledgement. The rustle of people passing us is dull, a mere backdrop to the drum of my pulse. As I draw near, her eyes lift. Recognition flickers there, a sparkless, muted echo of what once might have been warmth. There is no escape now, not from the gravity that pulls us into this long-delayed reckoning. I remind myself of why I'm here, not as a doctor or some benevolent figure, but as a man reclaiming the threads that once bound us, frayed beyond recognition, yet essential to my own unraveling. Her lips part slightly, poised to speak, but I find my voice first. It's low, softer than I intend, yet firm, sculpted by purpose. Can we talk? Outside, maybe. I nod toward the exit sign that beckons with a dim promise of privacy amidst so much raw vulnerability. She nods, almost imperceptibly, and we navigate the sea of sterile anonymity, stepping into the chill of the evening. The air is crisp, alive with the distant hum of city life, a soundtrack that feels grounding, necessary. She wraps her coat tighter around her shoulders. I can sense her defenses hardening, an instinctive brace against potential hurt. I see it mirrored in the rigid line of her jaw, the way her eyes flicker across the brick facade of the building, anywhere but at me. I'm here because I can't let this be it. My words fall between us, fragile yet unyielding, like leaves stirred by a hesitant breeze. She turns to meet my gaze, those eyes softer now, with a hint of question. I heard about the surgery, I continue, and it made me realize that running away from the past doesn't make it any less real. She looks away, the silence punctuated by the distant honking of a car. We are two souls soaked in unspoken words, yet dancing on the edges of an understanding. Her shoulders relax incrementally, a subtle surrender she might not even be aware of allowing. I just wanted you to know, I say, my voice gaining steadiness, fortified by the truth I'm ready to finally admit. I'm not here to fix the past, and not because I believe everything can be fixed, but I'm here because I think we owe ourselves a little peace. She exhales, a soft release that cuts through the tension. All right, she whispers, an agreement, an olive branch. It's not forgiveness or a full reckoning, But for now, it is enough. As we stand there, the night breathes around us. And in the circle of reconciliation, something fragile yet promising takes root. The house felt strangely unfamiliar, like stepping into a room I had always known but now saw in a different light. I was perched nervously at the edge of the sofa, the worn leather pressing into my skin, a tangible reminder that this was real. Across from me, Anna mirrored my posture, her fingers entwined so tightly they were nearly white. We hadn't spoken in minutes, but it wasn't the heavy silence it used to be. It felt suspended, like the air before rain. The lamp cast a soft glow, the kind that softened edges and made it easier to breathe. For the first time in ages, I felt I could see clearly, not just her, but everything. There was an aching weight in my chest at the prospect, a fear and a longing intertwined. Words had always been our nemesis, battling their way between us, but today they had a different quality. I leaned in, taking a breath that burned from the depth of it. Anna, I started, my voice breaking into the quiet. She looked up, eyes wide with something between hope and pain. I know there's no rewinding, no fixing past mistakes. I've carried that weight. God knows, I've carried it. But maybe we can just talk. I didn't know if it was a plea or a promise. Maybe both. She swallowed, nodding slightly, her lips curving into a tentative smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Yeah, I think. Yes, we can talk. The words hung between us, fragile but alive. As they settled, I felt a shift, a grounding, and realized she felt it too. It wasn't magic or resolution, but something akin to understanding. I watched as she uncoiled her fingers, leaving a ghostly impression on her hand. Quietly, I marveled at how that simple act could feel like a shared victory. You know, she said after a moment, her voice a whisper on the edge of breaking. Part of me always feared this moment, like a reckoning I wasn't ready for. But now that it's here, I don't know, maybe it's time we faced it. Nodding, I reached out instinctively, stopping short as our fingers hovered in the space between us, a bridge barely formed. I never knew I'd get here. I confessed, more to myself than her. But I'm glad we are. The silence returned, not the kind that drowned, but one that invited. We sat there, words slowly landing where silence once loomed, not a patch for old wounds, but a step toward a closure I never realized I yearned for. There was no grand resolution, no promise that everything would be all right. Just this moment, delicate and real, offering a sliver of peace we both needed. In that quiet space, shared yet separate, the echoes of understanding lingered, promising nothing, yet offering everything we didn't know we needed.